Good morning from the office. This is George McClellan at FYN TV, North Georgia's only live online morning show. And this is Georgia's Hour, 10 to 11 a.m. So, what we got going on and what's happening in Charlotte, North Carolina is another example, and we're going to talk about this to some length, is another example of an out-of-control black race, unaided, except by lies and rage, controlled by no organized thought process except it's Whitey's fault. Let's get Whitey. Some will say, at last the blacks are in revolution. Well, perhaps. But since the 1965, and that was my first experience with black rioting in the Watts riot in Los Angeles, all of their violent outbursts have eventually just petered out after a few days, leaving more blacks dead or wounded in the street, black businesses, neighborhoods looted and in ashes. And when it happens, businesses do not return, and the areas become slums, criminal centers of the drug culture, and contributes to the rise of organized crime. Black street gangs, the Crips and the Bloods. We see this all the time. As organized groups, blacks have no staying power, but are now being encouraged to actually attack white establishments, and soon, white neighborhoods. And when that happens, watch out. Whites will finally be shaken out of their white guilt, the lethargy that has been imposed on them by progressives, and they will start pulling out the arsenal of weapons they've been purchasing since Obama has become president, and set about preparing to defend themselves. I will. The black riots in Charlotte have now extended out of their neighborhoods and onto the interstate freeways. They've been stopping and looting commercial trucks, stopping white-driven vehicles, threatening the occupants with banging, shouts, screams of protest, and, if possible, would drag the white occupants out, beat them up, and burn their cars. Yes, a revolution is indeed coming, but it won't be a black one. Enough said. Very interesting on the Drudge Report this morning, one of the headlines is Thugs of Charlotte, white man dragged, beaten, begging for mercy. Well, that just confirms what I've already said, and I just wrote this up this morning based on my own experience. So let's just talk about the black culture a little bit. America's educated black workforce, where is it? Well, I'm just kidding, they don't have one. Very few of them who have matriculated out of high school and into colleges actually turn into Ben Carsons, Herman Cains, Walter Williams, Mia Loves, and when they do, they're conservatives. They're not liberals. Because of the need to pander for voters, Democrats long ago forced industry into providing employment, jobs for unqualified blacks. Still, a lack of education remained, and that had to be addressed. Money was thrown at the schools with the caveat that they must increase the number of black students, diversity they call it, per classroom based upon some government formula or face loss of funding. Do you remember the Brown versus Board of Education? That was the decision by a court, by a judge that kicked the whole thing off, forcing children to be bused all around St. Louis to schools miles and miles and miles away. That should have been the precursor of the start of the seriousness in having private education. But the expenses of the communities went up. They had to buy buses, they had to pay bus drivers, the insurance, health insurance, salaries, the purchases of buses, the insurance to run those buses. Children had to get up hours earlier so they can get on a bus instead of going a block away to school, go 20 miles. And it's unconscionable what progressivism has done to this America, and particularly progressive judges who do not follow the Constitution. I mean, you can say that things are not equal, and they're not. But no force of law can make things equal that are not socially going to be equal. It's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. Forced integration, and the schools within a year turn black because people move away. That's personal choice, and we've known that. Education and the burden of the costs is the biggest joke on taxpayers. When blacks graduate, they still can't read for the most part. Were they educated? Well, public schools are turning out students today of all races, including whites, except Asians, and I'll say except Asians, who cannot do their sums, are barely literate above the 3rd grade level, and have no clue about America's history. And why should that be allowed? Well, it started with No Child Left Behind, and then switched to Common Core, progressive programs emanating from the federal government level that is designed to make everything equal when things cannot possibly be equal on a mass basis. That's government from top down. That is communism 101. You're looking at it right there. A preponderance of unprepared blacks are admitted into colleges and universities by affirmative action, where they constitute now such a massive force, a voice, that they can just about demand and get anything they ask for. Colleges and universities have turned into cesspools of insane ideas, all designed to pacify blacks who demand what can no longer be made available to them, a real education. It's there, they just don't want it. They want sanctioned equality, and college is the way to get it. During recent protests at some major universities, including particularly fomented by the Black Lives Matter group, the screaming mobs demanding reparations, kill whitey, racism, etc., and are barely able to utter their words in understandable English. Yet they demand that from a society that gave them a chance, that which they are incapable of utilizing when they do get it. Why are these people even accommodated? Well, we're beaten into accepting it. We're beaten into it by a government that has turned top-down government control. Why is it important to seat a person in the classroom who couldn't possibly otherwise qualify, at the expense of one who could, yet pass them through to satisfy a progressive demand for fairness? They're in simply because they're black. And we were told we had to let them in or it wouldn't be fair and we would be labeled as racist. Oh, the horror of it. But we did respond to that. And so we stepped back and let this whole process happen. When reality set in to legitimize that really stupid idea, affirmative action, by clogging classrooms with incompetence, colleges fell all over themselves, creating even stupider ideas like black studies, staffed by teachers who still couldn't read but barely speak proper English, or worse, those who could read and had matriculated out of schools with PhDs in Marxism, like Angela Davis at Berkeley, for example. Today's schools at all levels are judged not by the quality of their product, but by the number of diversified students that are passed on to the next level, whether or not they can read or write. States got federal money for doing that. If a classroom assignment requires studying literature not written by Maya Angelou or another black author, then by all means, don't trouble yourself to read it. Western culture was written by dead old white men, and their opinions don't count anymore. Instead, find a comic book superhero and report on him or her. And by the way, where are the black superheroes? Well, they're matriculated to television now in these action hero figures. Upon the new movie out, Magnificent Seven. Have you watched the trailers on that? Nothing will repeat Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen, that lot. But this group here, it's pitiful. It's a pitiful movie. And we have a black hero in charge. Now, he's a good guy. He spends money on certain things that are pro-conservative and all that. But it's where our culture is going. It's a false narrative that we're watching. Back to my school things. Upon graduation, those poor fools expect corporate America to give them jobs. The federal government certainly will. We experience the wonders of that every time we call a federal office to ask about our taxes or the status of a veteran. We see them in the TSA line, herding passengers along like sheep, but the only job where they can otherwise exercise any authority at all. Not surprisingly, a significant number lose their positions because they couldn't keep their hands off other people's property. Old habits are hard to break. This 50-year failed experiment of giving in to the ever-increasing demands of the 13%, just to sustain Democratic voter lists, is wearing a bit thin, and it's time to close it down. Politicians have corrupted America, have corrupted the black race, have disrespected even the capable blacks, and have made a mockery of education. Where does it cease? When does it cease? When are proper changes going to come about? Probably never. But now, yesterday I overspoke on this comment because the University of Chicago has eliminated safe spaces and their policy of prohibiting conservative speakers, the free speech sort of thing. So now we have the problem that I addressed here in Charlotte. They have actually taken a man out of his car and beat him. I don't know if they beat him to death, but it was probably close. He begged for mercy. And that's just on today's Drudge Report, if you read that. There's a video of it, as a matter of fact. So anyway, I'm going to talk about it on the black issue. I want to address now Hillary Clinton. We cannot ignore Hillary Clinton. There's a new scandal about to explode on Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. We've already heard that the Clinton Foundation's Haiti corruption over the last few weeks. The foundation was caught promising to help the people of Haiti, and that was after the earthquake a few years ago, and instead used the money to line their own pockets. Now there are two new scandals for Hillary Clinton to answer for. First, the former president of the Haitian Senate, and his name is Bernard Sansaric, dropped a bombshell during a recent interview with Donald Trump. Mr. Sarik told Trump that he had the documentation to prove that the Clintons tried to bribe him in an effort to get his support for the Clinton Foundation's work to defraud the people of Haiti. Now that's just hanging out there. There's no documentation yet. Sansaric explained that he had become president of the Senate in 1994, a year during which the Clinton presidency attempted to oust the oppressive military regime in Haiti by threat of invasion. Sansaric said that in order to try to appease him, at the time, Clinton sent Bill Richardson, you remember Bill Richardson, the Latino former governor of New Mexico, and a congressman, sent him to the American Embassy in Haiti as an anonymous message to tell Sansaric that if he sided with Bill Clinton in the invasion, he would become the richest man in Haiti. And that's a quote. Sansaric said he declined the offer because he loves his country, Haiti, and he added that a week later, by executive order, Bill Clinton revoked his visa. Attempting to bribe a foreign politician who also says that her foundation defrauded his people of billions of dollars would be a pretty serious charge for most people. But for Hillary Clinton, it's just a Monday, another Monday. The second potential scandal percolating through as we start this week focuses on Clinton bribing other Haitian politicians. However, the corruption comes from 2011, when it seemed that the CIA was considering revoking the U.S. visa of the Haitian Prime Minister. Now, the CIA can recommend it and suggest it at high levels, and the State Department will probably do it, but the CIA doesn't revoke visas. The only problem is that the Prime Minister, Jean-Max Bellevue, was a dear friend and business partner of the Clinton family. and revoking his visa could cause problems with their work and their income. So he was on the payroll. That's what we're saying. A dear friend, if you hear the dear friend, you're on the payroll. On January 27th in 2011, the Clinton Foundation Chief Operating Officer Laura Graham sent an email to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills voicing concern about a rumor. Mrs. Graham had heard that Foggy Bottom was thinking about revoking the U.S. visa of Haitian Prime Minister Belvier. The Wall Street, the WJC will be very happy if that's the case. Mrs. Graham warned Mrs. Mill using the initials of the former president at WJC. Mrs. Graham, who was also chief of staff to Mr. Clinton at the foundation, had other reasons to worry. Quote, I'm also staying at Mr. Belvediere's house, Belvediere's house, for your information, so exposure in general and this weekend in particular for WJC on this. So Clinton Foundation staff were hobnobbing with a powerful Haitian politician and using connections at the State Department to influence U.S. policy decisions involving that same politician. That's unethical, and it is also contrary to what Mrs. Clinton promised when she went before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in January 2009 as President-elect Obama's Secretary of State. I probably don't have to tell you that Mr. Belvier got to keep his visa, and Mrs. Graham didn't get kicked out of his house that weekend, out of her house. The Wall Street Journal goes on to explain that Mr. Belvier and the Clintons made a lot of money by working together to milk Haiti for all they could. In fact, the pair made millions, helping Haiti recover from the devastating 2010 earthquake, and Haiti still hasn't recovered. And the Clintons' Belvier team also did something astounding in 2012 when they scored some sweet gold mining permits for Hillary Clinton's younger brother, Tony Rodham. Now how about that? He got 2 gold mining permits, even though Haiti hasn't given any gold mining permits to anyone in over 50 years. Thankfully, the Haitian Senate raised enough of a stink about the obvious corruption that the mining permits were placed on hold. The stench of corruption follows the Clintons everywhere they go, and for good reason. They are corrupt. Now it's time for a few minutes of back to our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Elgin.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited. Now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, welcome back, fun lovers. This is George McClellan at George's Hour on FetcherNews.com TV, North Georgia's only live online morning show. And we were talking about the Charlotte riots, the black riots in Charlotte, I should say, because that's the town in North Carolina. And then we switched to Hillary and her corruption, the depth of her corruption, even the poorest country in the world, Haiti. And she's in there trying to, the Clinton Foundation, trying to squeeze it out of money. Several things are coming up that are interesting. Of course, the Charlotte riot was based on a police shooting, but the policeman who did the shooting was a black policeman, remember that. And the fellow who was shot was a black criminal, remember that. He had a long record. And he was not holding a book in his hand. He was not reading. I had to laugh. They said, somebody who was interviewed over there said, he was just in there reading. He was planning on going back to school, and he was reading so he could pass the test. But the police said he didn't have a book. He had a gun, and that's why he's dead. So pay attention. Pay attention. Do not listen to the mainstream media. Will lie to us. It has become their habit to lie to us because it has become progressive. Interestingly enough, if you, Florida, we're talking about Florida in the news is as necessary for Trump to win Florida if he has any hope of winning the delegates, 270 delegates needed. Hot Air today had a interesting thing. There was a video, and the debate audience burst into laughter when a congressional candidate claimed that Hillary is honest. Well, that congressional candidate was once a Republican. His name is Crist. I forgot what this guy's first name, but anyway, he says, I am proud of Hillary Clinton. I think she's been a very good Secretary of State, a very good senator from the state of New York. The thing I most like about her is I believe she is steady. I believe she is strong. I believe she is honest. And I look forward to voting for her. And the audience went crazy. They broke up in laughter. Now, we have arrived at the period of ridicule. When politicians start getting ridiculed or laughed at by the audience that they are trying to sway, to vote for them, then they're in trouble. Now, obviously, a standard technique is to start with a joke or humorous story when you start a speech. Hillary cannot do that, but people are laughing at her anyway, at her, not with her. So keep that in mind. But Chris is a disappointment to the Republicans everywhere. So we'll pass on to the next story. The Obamacare is coming back into our scene. Several years in, Obamacare isn't as bad as you thought. It's worse, is the headline. And here we are. I'd like to share this with you. Well, I'll share it if it ever comes up. There we are. Oh, as soon as it comes up, I turn it off. All right. Well, we don't want to talk about Hillary Clinton's pneumonia. That's an old story. Anyway, the Obamacare is collapsing, and it's exactly planned. It has been planned from the very beginning. They knew it wouldn't work. No Republican in that Congress voted for this plan, not one, and it was pushed through by progressives. And when I say progressives, I want you to keep in mind the tenets of Karl Marx. That's what they are. They are progressives. And progressivism is not at all wrapped in any of the folds of our Constitution that makes our country great. It's a totally foreign philosophy designed to control the population from the top down, filled with people who think they are our betters and know better how we will be happy. And that is un-American, and I will continue that. The headline here is will Chelsea at Clinton Foundation be a conduit to President Hillary Clinton? Bill says, we all know people. Well, here's a young lady who, soon she matriculated from college, had a six-figure job at a news agency, one of the news networks, ABC was it? And she couldn't keep that because she didn't have the skills and nobody was watching it. So she was gone. But now she lives in a multi-million-dollar apartment next to which is connected to a medical center put in there specifically for the Clintons, for Hillary Clinton, at her, and she has a job in the Clinton Foundation that pays her $600 and some odd thousand a year. This is for a young lady with no skills. She has the college education, but she has no skills. And I got to ask you, but she knows people. Bill Clinton was asked if it's appropriate for his daughter to be at the Clinton Foundation while her mother is president of the United States. His response, we all know people. As is typical with a Bill Clinton response, the full parsing is in order. And they give us a clip to watch. And I'll provide the transcript. Becky Quick, the interviewer, because obviously people would look at you as a conduit to getting through to Bill Clinton. Yeah, the stuff that they've said so far is just bull. But if she was actually the president, it would raise too many questions. I think it's fair. Becky Quick, you are stepping down from the foundation, Bill Clinton, but Chelsea is not at this point. She seems to be a conduit who would eventually get through to Hillary Clinton too. That's her mother, Bill Clinton. We all know people, but when they made that conduit agreement, the State Department said there's nothing to it. The career people of the State Department, I think it's quite different if you have if the foundation is operating in America, taking no corporate contributions, only individual contributions, and disclosing them every 3 months, as we do now, and confining ourselves basically to health and education and service work. Well, let's break that on down. Becky Quick was asked specifically about charges that when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, he was seen as an inappropriate conduit between the foundation and the State Department. Clinton responded, the stuff that they've said so far is just bull. But if that was actually the president, it would raise too many questions. I think it's fair. In other words, there wasn't a problem when she was Secretary of State. All those questions and concerns were bull. But if she becomes President of the United States, then those concerns are fair. That's what he was parsing. And she says, really, everything is fine when the Secretary of State is married to a former president who is raking in hundreds of millions of dollars in corporate and foreign donations to a private foundation. But the second she moves a couple of rungs up her career path and ends up on Pennsylvania Avenue, then we have a problem? Is this a reflection of how ineffectual and non-influential Hillary Clinton was when she ran our nation's diplomatic corps at Foggy Bottom? Or is this Clinton conveniently making things up as he goes along? The answer is revealed in the text in the next exchange. Quick challenges his premise by pointing out that Hillary's daughter, Chelsea, is staying on at the foundation when Miss Clinton presumably ascends to the throne. How is she not a legitimate concern as a conduit to the Oval Office in the same way Bill Clinton would be? You know, the criticism and concerns he just characterized as fair. This is when Clinton, we all know people, gut response was delivered. He then went on to argue, again, that the question raised in the past had been bull and things would be different now because the foundation would only be involved in health issues or something. It's all suffocating nonsense. Here's Clinton's argument in a nutshell. When I ran the Clinton Foundation and Hillary was Secretary of State, any concerns over me being a conduit to her operations were bull. However, those same concerns are fair if and when she becomes president. That being said, those same fair concerns about me being a conduit to the foundation, donors, to Hillary as president are a non-issue with regard to our daughter being in the exact same position because, you know, we all know people there. If I explained it right, don't you feel better? I hope I did anyway. Anyway, we've got a whole list of things here that are interesting. Another incident we don't pay much attention. We're watching changes, evolutionary changes in our body politic. This one out of North Dakota. The Dakota Pipeline, the activists who want to prevent the Dakota Pipeline has cut the union away from them. So the union and the Dakota activists are not in concert anymore. The Dakota activists are Indians, American Native Indians, not Sahib Indians from India, but American Native Indians, tribal groups, and they say that this pipeline cuts across sacred ground. No one complained over the years about the thousands of other miles of pipelines to North Dakota and South Dakota and Nebraska, all the way down to Louisiana. And remember, Indian tribes blanketed America once upon a time. So they could logically have an issue of interest in any state they want. But now they've irritated the unions, the people who want the jobs, putting that pipeline in the ground. There's a new Trump ad said it's a movement, not a campaign. And I hope that they're talking about a movement forward Obama plans unprecedented campaign to drag bumbling loser over the finish line. So we've seen Clinton make his address to the Black Congressional Caucus, and he all but threatened them that they have to vote for Hillary Clinton. It would be an insult to his legacy if they did not support Hillary Clinton. I'm at odds personally on this because I think he now realizes Hillary has to be president for the Democrats in any event, or for the progressive, social progressives. But he hates her. He hates Bill Clinton. He hates everything they stand for. And he has in his hands the opportunity to drive a knife right through the heart of the Clinton campaign, of the Clintons and the Clinton family, and that odyssey there. But he can't do it. She's got things on him. He's got things on her that are criminal, and they are jockeying for a position. But he needs her now if he intends to have any legacy whatsoever. Of course, his legacy is already made. Nothing she says or does, even if she becomes president, will contribute to his legacy. His legacy is failure. The Obama's legacy is failure, and that's just the way it is, and will always be like that. It gives Jimmy Carter relief, and Jimmy Carter, bless his heart, he's a Georgian. He's still alive. He's still kicking. He beat cancer. I'm impressed with that, and he's still making his inane statements, proving that he is a super liberal. But he's not like this communist who's in our White House now, this Marxist. People say that Obama is really a Muslim, and I'm coming to doubt that. He's been schooled in Islam. He knows what to say. He knows what makes Muslims in Islam bend to his will, or what makes them articulate a position, just like he does Christians. Remember, he claimed he belonged to that Christian church in Chicago. I don't believe he's a Muslim. He cannot be a religious person at all. He just uses both of those to advance his program, and his program came from the school of progressivism. He is a Marxist that plays golf. So we'll take another break, and we'll be right back. See you on the other side.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Ellijay.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited. Now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, welcome back to our third and final segment of Georgia's Hour on FYN TV, North Georgia's only live online TV talk show. I am George McClellan. I'm on from 11 to 5. If you have a comment or you'd like to talk, give me a call. Look at the top of your screen and you'll see the phone number here, or you can email me at george@fetchernews.com. And that'll be sent over to me, and we can discuss points. I look forward to having this verbal intercourse with people so we can discuss and answer questions, because I certainly don't stand as an expert. All I bring is my experience. And that's, I have to admit, it's a lot of experience, and I've been there and done a lot of those things. But here we are. We're going to look at another important bill. We still have things, foreign policy things in the world that are affecting us. Syria specifically being one of them. The White House stopped a bipartisan vote on a bipartisan bill sanctioning Syria for mass murder. Obama did that. Democrats in Congress bowed to the Obama administration's desire to delay a bill sanctioning Syria for documented instances of mass torture and mass murder. The bill is called the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act. Caesar is a code name for a former Syrian military photographer who escaped the country in 2013 with 55,000 photographs documenting the crimes committed by the Assad regime. The bill, which has bipartisan support, was expected to get a vote this week until the White House stopped it. The Washington Post tells us Representative Eliot Engel, Democrat of New York, the ranking Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, was the primary author of the bill, along with his committee counterpart Ed Royce, a Republican from California. Even liberal Democrats like Representative Jan Schakowsky, a Democrat from Illinois, had signed on, but late Friday afternoon, just before the legislative calendar for the following week was to be released, White House Legislative Affairs staffers began calling leadership in both parties, urging them to shelve the legislation. There had been an agreement between Republicans and Democrats to bring the bill to the House floor this week under a suspension of the rules, which provides for a streamlined process but also requires 2/3 support to pass. Once Democratic leadership went back on that agreement, the obstacle to passing it increased immensely. Royce, whose committee approved the bill in July, also put the blame on the Obama administration. I am dismayed, he said, that the administration seems to be throwing up roadblocks on our bipartisan effort to cut off the resources Assad uses to annihilate his own people. And I will continue working to find a path forward for this important legislation. The Obama administration must be ashamed of itself. No, they're not. They're never ashamed of itself, because they are claiming to reporter Josh Rogin that the congressional Democrats reached the decision on their own. But Rogan's congressional sources tell him the administration argued that a vote on the Caesar bill could hurt a fledgling ceasefire effort negotiated by Secretary of State Kerry. Oh my God. That is like having a kindergarten over there trying to do your negotiation. Kerry is a totally incompetent boob. The ceasefire appeared to collapse Monday when Syria began bombing Aleppo again. Now, I'll remind readers and listeners, Aleppo is not a dog food made out of camels or camel meat. It's a city in Syria. I first read about Aleppo when I read a book called The Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence and his World War I adventures in that area. Aleppo is a town, not a dog food. Today, Secretary Kerry met with his Russian counterpart, and the Russian ambassador is not a counterpart. The man is not stupid. Kerry is stupid. So he met with the Russian ambassador and other world leaders and proclaimed the ceasefire is not dead. Well, it is dead. I mean, they're shooting at one another. The mood of the meeting was very much that nobody wants to give this thing up. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson told reporters after the meeting, quite frankly, the Kerry-Lavrov process is the only show in town, and we've got to get that show back on the road. Don't say why, except they just don't like killing people. More. French Foreign Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault said the ceasefire, brokered by the U.S. and Russia on September the 10th, required greater international participation. We have to be honest. The U.S.-Russia negotiation has reached its limits. The Russians and America alone will not be able to achieve this ceasefire. Well, I'll tell you, Russia is calling the shots. Obama gave up any grasp of leadership in the Middle East with the Syria red line when he failed to enforce his red line 4 years ago. So 2 weeks after another reported chemical attack, the Obama administration is delaying a bill aimed at dissuading Assad's regime from further mass murder and mass torture. If there's an argument that a ceasefire accomplishes something more immediate than the bill in question, why is the White House only making the case privately to Democrats in Congress? Good question. If this is the best approach to dealing with the humanitarian disaster in Syria, shouldn't they be willing to defend their delay of the Caesar bill? On the record, that's why you're hearing it from me, because no one else is talking about it. It is in one website that I have come across, and I've been following that. We have incompetence running our government. Obama, Kerry, Hillary Clinton, these are people who progressed up the line simply because they did have an education, understood concepts, but not details. And if you don't understand details of a concept, you're in trouble. You're absolutely in trouble. Another issue that affects America now is our college campuses, and I've talked about that. This was using security, the word security, as the excuse, college campuses, some, are shutting down free speech. We can see the evil of that already. And I might remind you again, but if you have not read George Orwell's 1984 since you were a child, go get a copy. Get a copy and reread it. Let your children read it. Let your wife or husband read it. Read this book and discuss it, because this is exactly where we're at, where the Democrats are taking us right now. But here's a short but interesting essay from Catherine Rampell of the Washington Post. She takes on the subject near and dear to my heart, specifically the lack of ideological diversity on our nation's college campuses and the suppression of free speech. Diversity. The left loves that word, unless it includes conservatives. Well, it's dangerous, and it poses a security problem if it's allowed to carry on. So here we go. We'll examine this a little bit more. That's a very controversial excuse for a couple of reasons to say the security is a problem. If you simply say that you're special snowflake, you're tender child, who cannot take criticism, can't handle hearing Ben's views, so you're locking the doors, then the dishonest nature of liberal-run institutions is too clearly exposed. It's much better to pretend that you'd love to have him come give his speech, but you can't be held responsible if your peaceful protesting students tear him limb from limb. Around the country, colleges have found a new excuse for shutting down free speech: safety. Just as national security has periodically served as a pretext for robbing Americans of our civil liberties, so too has campus security newly become a convenient rationale for disregarding commitments to free speech. Unwilling to either defend controversial speech or cop to censoring it, college administrations are steadily invoking public safety when it comes to canceled events. Ben Shapiro, a young conservative firebrand who has criticized Black Lives Matter, has recently been disinvited from 2 college campuses due to security concerns. In February, his scheduled talk at California State University, LA, was canceled, or rather indefinitely delayed, so the administration could arrange for him to appear as part of a larger group of speakers with differing viewpoints on diversity. We've got to get rid of these people running these colleges and universities. We have a vast array of retired military officers from the grade 05 and above who could run these colleges and turn them around. There's many, many people out there with master's degrees, PhDs. All of them have college degrees, all the officers who could run these institutions and return them to Americanism, restore what is missing from the curriculum: American history, the Constitution, and all of the free speech and the civil rights that go with it. Not to just get too far away. Civil rights. The Second Amendment is always under attack by progressives, but we haven't defended it as a basis of our civil rights. We have a civil right to defend ourselves. And the Second Amendment empowers that civil right. So if they try to take away our right to bear arms, then that, to me, is a civil right violation, a violation of my civil rights. Keep that in mind and fit it in your notebook for future use. And we have only a couple of minutes left. I'm going to get to my final thoughts. It's called Political Prodigies. Word is that George H.W. Bush said he was going to vote for Hillary. That to me is suspect because it has not been confirmed, will not be confirmed. It is a rumor only that was started by Kathleen Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy's daughter. Mitt Romney, however, desperately spinning around like a compass needle seeking a Trump alternative, has finally found his true north in the character of Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson. Romney's efforts will be futile. Americans are weary of the old ideas of the antique oligarchs of the Republican Party and their failures to pursue conservatism and the rule of law, or resist Obama's depredations against the U.S. Constitution. Instead, they even facilitate his programs by approving the waste of taxpayer money to fund his programs in their omnibus spending bills. What happened to defunding Planned Parenthood, for example? We are not happy. Folks like Romney, Bush, Kasich, and McCain now stand witness to the demise of their very way of political life, pretending to be American statesmen. They want to be able to tell the American people, if Trump should lose, that it's our fault, that we should have listened to them and all would have been well. Either way, if Hillary wins, it will be too late for America. Nothing else will matter except, as Mao Zedong said, what comes out of the barrel of a gun. Americans are especially weary of the Bush and Romney families and have turned away from their soothing counsel. The geriatric old John McCain and the officious Ohio blowhard John Kasich, having no vast family behind them crowding to push ahead, are here only for their duration. The same applies to little Marco and Ted Cruz. The Clintons have laid their hopes for their political future on their only progeny, one daughter, Chelsea, now corrupted by both her parents and her husband. At least she has had two foals to carry on the Clinton legacy, if any exists, but by a different name. America fought a war once against arguably the greatest military power in the world, the British Empire. The British lost an important part of their empire, the 13 American colonies, not because they suffered from military weakness, but because America had the better intelligence operation working against the British. Now, where does that leave us today? Today, we are in a war our government won't even recognize. Islam has declared jihad against the West, its culture, its religion, and its freedoms. Islam is a fascist concept of population control, weakened over the centuries by incestual relationships, leaving a violent cadre of weirdos whose worldly education is limited to studying the Quran and the writings of their prophet Muhammad. The religion of peace subsequently turned its ambitions to subjugation by brutality, mayhem, conquest, and murder to spread their faith as demanded by the prophet. Romney, Kasich, Bush, and others don't understand that, or if they do, have already planned for an exit when the killing starts, leaving the rest of us here to fend for ourselves. Never Trump critics have made it clear that they would prefer Trump to suffer an electoral disaster that would justify their admonitions than they would he would destroy the Republican Party. It is also clear the never Trump forces of Romney and Bush just haven't thought this thing through. Americans don't care about Donald Trump's faux pas. He's learning. He's saying the right thing, and he makes the right promises. He sees the future. He is what America needs right now. Even if he fails through Democrat chicanery at the polls, look at the progeny he leaves for the future. New blood, new stock, and smart ones to boot. Now remember, freedom is the goal. The Constitution is the way. Now go get them. And that's the end of our hour for today. I want to thank you for watching. This is George McClellan at FetchingNews.com, North Georgia's only live online talk show. Bye.